Okay, good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, the 20th day of March in the year 2023. This is a City Council caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 4:06 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Ridley is not here. Councilperson Prinzeri. Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Present.
Councilperson DeGise.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
Okay, we have 8 council members present at 4:06 p.m. On behalf of Council President Waterman, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2023, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, December 15th, 2022. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, March 17th, 2023 at 4:45 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. And I will record Councilperson Ridley present at 4:08 p.m. So we have all 9 council members present at 4:08 p.m. Council President, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our first director up is Director Shea.
Good evening, Council President, council members. The Department of Public Safety has 6 resolutions on the agenda tonight, starting with agenda number 10.12. Agenda number 10.12 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to AAA Emergency Supply to maintain the self-contained breathing apparatus and to resupply them under the state contract for the Department of Public Safety Division of Fire. It's in a total potentially of $100,000. The initial encumbrance is $5,000. And of course, it depends on how many fires we have and how many times we have to use the equipment. Resolution 10.13, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Network Management Solutions to provide maintenance and support for the Division of Public Safety computer infrastructure and related systems. Network Management Solutions provides the network engineering services for 167 servers, 63 network switches, and our microwave and wireless operations. This includes all software and the new security patches. It's in the amount of $98,400 and is in the 2023 fiscal year temporary budget. Okay, moving on, 10.14, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Let's Think Wireless LLC for the support of proprietary computer hardware and software, maintenance and support services for the Department of Public Safety. Let's Think Wireless is responsible for the repair and maintenance of 51 microwave units that provide primary and secondary backup to the public safety network. It's in the amount of $38,000. This is a continuing resolution because the city chose to use their proprietary stuff many, many moons ago. So this is just pretty much every year. And the funds are available in the 2023 budget. 10.15 is a resolution authorizing an agreement with Gold Type Business Machines, GTBM. This again is an ongoing contract for the support and maintenance of the IP mobile net, mobile data, and license plate reader system, automated license plate readers for the Department of Public Safety. This is the support, repair, and maintenance of the automated license plate readers, the support, maintenance, and repair of the FirstNet 5G modems that we just installed in the public safety vehicles. And just as an aside, we've just placed a new traffic unit fully functional, and they can now utilize those automatic license plate readers and start finding scofflaws on the street in the off hours. This contract, the Was my amount, $16,050, and it's available in the 2023 budget.
Yes, with regards to these license plate via, reading motor vehicles, how many do we have?
Adding the police and traffic together, I don't have that number right now. I can reach back out to you.
Okay.
Director, how many, speaking of just traffic enforcement, how many of the license plate readers have been installed in traffic?
They just finished training everybody in traffic to use them and installing them. So again, I don't have that number offhand
Okay,
because this contract,
Yeah.
my guess is not dependent on the number of traffics. I mean, we have to have a network, whether there's one thing on it,
Sure.
then we get the economies of scale.
sure, no, I understand that. I mean, I'm sort of using the resolution to try to get updates on the license plate readers.
Okay, I'll send that to you.
Yeah,
I'll
if you
have
could, and then if you could just let us know what they're being used for under the traffic enforcement division. You know, we had discussed a couple of years ago them being used to enforce residential permit parking. You know, you're allowed to park for 2 hours. Is that happening? Is that not happening? We could get enough.
Yeah, I'll get that for you, but I don't think they do it. We're not doing residential under the license plate readers. They're strictly looking for scofflaws, stolen cars, and wanted right now. We're
Sure.
using them on every tour, and I think it varies by day.
Right, well, yes, JCPD was not using them, but that wasn't what Director Peretti had discussed, but we can,
Yeah.
if you send to me what they're being used for and where they are, and then I can follow up on the other use.
No problem. Okay, next, 10.16, resolution authorizing a award of a contract to SHI International Corp. for IXP Corporation, completion of initial workshops, technology assessment, and gap analysis services for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. This is through the New Jersey Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, Bergen County Co-op, in the amount of $213,000. It's available in the budget. And this is one that's coming back. We've all spoken about it many times, so I'll just take any questions anybody has.
Yes. My major issue with this is, I mean, I know we talked about it at length. I just haven't been satisfied with the rationale for why we're doing this. I wholeheartedly believe that this is something that should stay in-house, should get fixed in-house. And if individuals are not doing the duty that they're paid to do, because there's been some allegations that maybe this person is not doing what they're supposed to be doing as it relates to these services over at 911. I just don't feel confident letting this go to privatization. I know this is only a study, but I'm willing to wage a small amount of money that at some point that the study will look to become a contract. And I just don't feel comfortable with the rationales, the reasoning. And again, we have to figure it out. We seen when it was in recreation, they thought it was a problem. They revamped the whole department. So, I mean, this is no different here. I don't think that we should be looking towards privatization, of this area. So that's been my stance. That's still my stance. We've had meetings and I'm just not sold on the rationale on why we bringing it back. Well, I see why we bringing it back, but, the reason why we should move forward.
I do have a question and I understand why this is coming back. We've had some pretty horrible incidents happen since this was on the last time. But my question to you, Director, is, and this sort of goes back to conversation we had the last time it was up, and whether or not there was another third party or maybe somebody from the state that can come in and do the same survey and study.
Yeah.
And so that would be my question to you this time.
I'm not aware of anybody. I'm open if somebody else knows about somebody who can do it. We're on our fourth director there in my time here. We have promoted people, increased salaries. We've done many things that maybe some people are not aware about, and nothing seems to be working. So we're looking at other solutions here. I don't see any negative. Past 4 weeks in a row, weekends, I've had to put police officers there to answer these jobs because there was nobody available from our civilian workforce. They didn't come into work, called in sick, whatever. That takes cops off the street. It's not possible to continue like that. I don't know whether you can decide what solution you'll support, but it's not possible to continue status quo.
Okay, and again, I understand the need for the study and I agree. And sometimes a third party needs to come in because other people involved, there's a lack of trust on all sides and you need an impartial person to take a look. But that's just my question. So if there is somebody at the state level, you would be open to that suggestion?
Certainly, if anybody knows anybody. Why not?
When would we expect a report back if this passes?
We've delayed it so long. Our original timeline is off. Again, I'll have to get back to you on that. We're gonna have to bring them in, prove that they have a contract, and see if we can get a schedule for what I don't want to rush them and I don't want to delay. So
Okay.
as fast as we can do it in a professional and efficient manner.
Okay, I mean, it'd be great to have a timeline understanding that
Mhm.
you have to adjust it based on.
Yeah. Usually they have to get in first and take a look before they can even give us the timeline. So we'll see. As soon as I have it, you'll have it.
And this is a question for the law department. This is obviously a study and analysis and some other things in this resolution. You know, were a potential contract to be offered to a vendor to provide 911 call services. Could you just outline for the council what process that would take, RFPs, when the council would have to vote on it, just so we're all on the sort of same page moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, presumably we would work with Director Shea and the administration to put out an RFP. Obviously, we would take into account the complying anybody who bids on it that would be able to provide the service. I don't know how large of a number, what the universe of private contractors is that could provide that service, but obviously we would consider that.
Yeah.
I would come back to the council for the vote at that point, and then
And so I just want to make sure it's on the record that there would be a final vote before the council prior to any, not this vote, a subsequent vote prior to any change in services.
yes, correct.
Okay, great. And then Director, one of the things we talked about prior was connecting council members to government officials in other jurisdictions that have worked with this company. Obviously not before Thursday, but is that something you can do so we can discuss how they've done it, what their experiences have been, the pros and the cons of it?
Yeah, they're working now in Princeton would be the obvious one because they're in New Jersey, but they're also in Connecticut in at least one jurisdiction, Georgia and another one. So
Yeah.
I'll get a list of people and probably better if you pick your own rather than let them.
Agreed. If you give us a list of municipalities and the leaders, and that'd be perfect for us. But I would like to do some due diligence to understand what those jurisdictions have done, what their experiences have been.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Director, I have something completely different. But I've had it, and I'm being honest with you. I think you, Ray Myers, Paul Russo, and Barker have to sit down on what's going on in the city in Ward C. Construction over the weekend, you call the police, the cops, they're not educated. It's not like when we had our police academy and we had our guys teaching the people. But something has to be done because I'm tired of it. Saturday and Sunday, I'm being driven crazy. You call the police and they respond, nothing is done. I call the buildings department, nobody's working. We have no inspectors out and it's got to stop. And people in my area, the whole Ward C is so disgusted with what's going on, especially today. We had street after street after street closed. I was out at 8 o'clock this morning on Baldwin Avenue with the problem over there. So I want to sit down with you, Paul Russo, Barker, and we got to work this out because I've had it. And I'm being honest. I'm not picking on you, but something has to be done. And Ray Myers either has to get more inspectors or something. They have to be out on the weekends because people are being driven crazy with construction going on the weekends, and it's not right. So I've had it. And so can we arrange a meeting maybe later on this week or something?
Anytime.
Well, okay.
I have some more additional questions. My notes just got here. So just for the record, the only other municipality using this service in New Jersey is Princeton, correct?
As far as I know, I haven't been in contact with this company about it. When we first started looking into this with them, Princeton was the one that they.
Princeton was the,
worked with.
okay. Now, what if anything would happen if this resolution passed and then the services that they provide is not up to standards? Where do we go
We'd
from
have the
there?
same safeguards that we have in any contract we do in public safety. We monitor every day what they're doing. If they do not comply with the requirements of the thing, we don't pay them. And then we go to the law department and we issue, Peter can probably talk about how we take it from there. We force them to sue us to either try to obtain their money or to agree to give us the service that we've agreed to pay for before we give the money.
But then the issue which we're trying to address is not addressed, right? Because if they come in and they're not performing, which where we think or based on a contract, the other contractors, for whatever reason, they may not be able to do it, or they may be able to do it at a rate that, you know, we're not willing to agree on. So to the point that we'll say, oh, we're not going to pay them, then at some point they'll stop providing that service.
Okay, I thought you were asking, what do we do if they don't provide the service? Now we're getting into something different. I have zero reason to believe that they will not provide the service that we're contracting with them for here. Tawana, Director Moody has traveled to some of the other locations where they have set up. She's watched their operations. She's witnessed them. She's researched them. She's talked to the people who work there. We have we can't find anybody that has had a negative experience with this company. So we have no reason to believe that if they put in a bid and agree to provide services for this amount of money, that we'll have any problem with them. I was giving you a generic answer as to, because it sounded like a generic question. What do we do if we have a resolution giving someone a contract and then they don't provide the service?
No, I mean, I get it. I understand. I'm just saying, I don't know. And I mean, the garbage people, you thought they would do a good job and they're not doing a good job. I don't know. It's just a bad idea, all in all. We're looking to privatize. These are the same group of people. That's the first line of defense. They're missing paychecks since the beginning of the year. Instead of us trying to rectify and see what the problem is, we're jumping to the conversation of privatization, and the company that's doing the assessment is in the business of providing it's just wrong all the way across the board.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say, Council President, I'm going to disagree with the characterization of we're jumping to privatization. What we're searching for here is a solution for what we have identified as a weak point of service to our constituents in the area of public safety.
Well,
We've been trying
ultimately,
to
that's
fix
what
it
it's going to lead to. They're not just coming in to give their assessment and then they're just leaving. They're coming in to give their assessment, and according to certain people's words, they are not even giving an assessment. They're giving an overview of what they can do and how much of what they're going to do, how much is it going to cost. So
Peter,
again,
Peter,
it's
let me help him out here, Peter.
it's
When
hard.
we do a contract, we always can put a clause in there for a time limit if there's no improvement.
Of course,
Okay,
we have, if there's a breach of the contract, they're not providing
Correct.
the service as bargained for, there's a termination provision.
yes, we can do that as a council, and it will come back to us to vote on it before we agree to them, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You still have your authority here, council. Anything else? Next one.
Next and final, and fairly simple, resolution agenda number 10.17, 23.209. It's a resolution authorizing liens against properties listed herein for the cost of removing litter, debris, etc., in accordance with New Jersey State Authority 4048-214 and Jersey City Code Section 287-4. There's a list of properties that we attempted to have remove garbage, brush, weeds, all the things that are destroying the community around the properties, the abandoned properties. The landlords were not responsive. Our quality of life under our municipal prosecutor went out and had it rectified,
Mhm.
and then sent the bill to the landlords as per the Jersey law and the New Jersey state law. The landlords have not responded, so we're asking permission to put a lien for the cost of the work that we've done on those landlords. Landlords are listed A through L on your copy of the resolution.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Council.
Director Kears?
Good evening, President Warder and members of the council. I have 4 items before you. First one is 10/18/23/210. Resolution will author award of a contract to Noble Computer Systems to provide software services associated with the auto impound AIM system. That's under the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance. The total amount of this contract is $75,000. This resolution will authorize a temporary encumbrance of $10,000.
Questions?
Director, can you just briefly describe what the software will do and why we need it?
Yes, certainly. It's accountability. Basically, when the vehicle, it's what call of service comes into our radio room for an impound. It tracks the car from the moment that it's impounded, tracks any amounts that's owed on it, any outstanding payment or anything like that. And then it's basically how our people are able to determine when if the car is going to be sold at auction and things like that.
Got it. And what do we use today?
Ames.
So this is a renewal.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Next one.
Next is 1019-23-211. Resolution will authorize the option to renew a contract with Cintas Corporation for the rental of uniforms for DPW employees through the Omnia Partners Co-op. Time period of the contract is through 12/31/23. It's a temporary encumbrance of $20,000 as authorized by the passage of this resolution.
Questions?
1020-2312. Resolution will be a month-to-month extension not to exceed 3 months with Amber Air Incorporated to provide HVAC and boiler maintenance for city-owned buildings. It's necessary to extend the HVAC and boiler maintenance contract on a month-to-month basis not to exceed 3 months effective March 19th, 2023. While the city prepares a bid for bid specifications. The total amount of this extension will not exceed $80,000, and this resolution will authorize a temporary encumbrance of $10,000. Last is 1021-23-213. Resolution will authorize renewal of a contract with Lombardi Door and Service to provide repairs, maintenance, services to overhead motorized doors for city properties. Total amount of this contract not to exceed $54,000. Temporary encumbrance of $5,000 will be approved with this resolution.
Good evening, Council President and members of the council. I'm here for agenda 10.9, resolution authorizing an award of competitive contract with Integra Resource New Jersey, Northern New Jersey. This company is a real estate appraisal company, and they normally aid us in property valuation and mostly in defense of our tax appeals, either at the county level and at the tax court appeals. The total contract calls for $75,000 in total. There is a $5,000 on a temporary budget right now. This was done through what you call, we sent out an RFP out there, and they got the biggest score on that system that we undertook. You have any questions?
Can you just define in a little bit more depth what this company is going to do for us as a city and for your office?
Yeah, many times if an appeal is filed before the tax court would require an expert, an appraiser, either would provide a report if it goes to trial. If not, regardless whether it goes or not, we have this what you call preliminary kind of settlement conference where both parties would present a report. Most often we require them to at least give us some kind of a restricted report to have an idea what the values of the properties, the subject properties that are before the tax court or before the county board of taxation. In addition to that, if we have new one that we need their expertise in determining what the value of especially some special use property, when you talk about hotel and hotels, also we have like warehouses. Now with the pandemic, although it's supposed to would say, there are still some cases pending before the tax court where we need to address the, say, 2019, 2020, and 2021 appeals. The tax court require a report for this. Although we are not requiring a full-blown appraisal, at least we will have something to submit before the tax court that pending this settlement, if there is no settlement basically being done, then we would need the full-blown appraisal, which costs more for the city.
And will these folks also help your office appraise new construction? So if new property gets its CO, will they also be used to help the office determine the appraisals for those buildings?
Yes, they, in part of their consultation function,
Yeah.
they would help us, like, for instance, if we have any problem in coming up with valuation, then we would seek their expertise.
And will they do any inspection? Will they go out to site?
Oh, yes, they go out there, yes.
So they will be doing inspection too. Okay.
Yes. But on a limited basis, on a special, as I said, on the properties with high-end valuations only.
Got it. Okay.
Hey, Ed, typically, like how far are how far are the numbers from what the homeowner think the value should be versus what the city think it should be? Is it like a real far margin?
A lot of times, when you evaluate on a property, you have to take a look at it on a case-by-case basis,
Mhm.
depending on the location, depending on the income stream that the property generates, especially the commercial properties. These experts are normally being utilized in terms of valuing, we call class fours, that means the commercial properties. Now, a lot of times, if you're dealing with a taxpayer, since they don't have any kind of expertise in terms of how you arrive at valuation, once in a while they come into our office for consultation. But nevertheless, one barometer that they look at are the taxes being paid on the property, whether they have enough basically to pay based on the income stream that the property generates.
Are they going after, not going after, are they, sorry, so they're doing valuations on things currently pending or things that are about to go into tax court or?
Mostly would be the ones that are pending right now, because we still have a lot of cases before the tax court. We still have multi-year appeals from the time we had this revaluation in 2018 all the way to 2023.
So these are cases where the resident or the, whatever the entity is appealing their taxes, correct?
Right.
It's
A lot of
not
times, the
reversed.
reason why this drags on different year, it's just that you cannot come up with an equilibrium price, between the city and the property owner.
So are we doing reverse appeals? This is not.
Yeah. Right now, we have, I would say, like 300 reverse appeals before the tax court. And until the deadline of April 1, probably would be submitting more. Yes, thank you.
I was gonna say, can we also get like a copy of the scope of work that they're working on, like all the appeals that they're doing
Yes.
whenever you get a chance? Thank you, Ed.
Sure.
you.
I'd just like to clarify, anything that's been filed, we'll provide. If they have some in complete reports, we'll wait until they complete them prior.
Good afternoon, Council President and council members. Agenda number 10.8, Resolution 23-200. It's a resolution authorizing replacement of a lost third-party certificate to ATCF Certificate 2021-1146.
You want to explain?
It's a lien that was sold to a third party and they lost their certificate. So we have to approve a resolution to replace the certificate.
So So someone brought it for whatever lien is, and then they subsequently sold it to someone else?
No, they lost it, and to replace it, it's $100. So they have to provide affidavit, the $100, and then we just duplicate the document.
No, I'm trying to understand that. So is it a third?
It's a third-party lien.
So they lost.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council President, City Council members. I have one item on the agenda, agenda number 10.32, Resolution 23-224. This is a resolution authorizing the city risk manager to issue a certificate of insurance naming Liberty State Park as additional insured and an indemnification agreement with Liberty State Park. This is something we do every year to cover all of our public events that are held in Liberty State Park.
Good afternoon, council members. Agnes Theodosio, Program Director from DCD. I have 4 resolutions for you today. The first 3, I will go through them fairly quickly. Those are simple discharges. Resolution number 23-214, agenda number 1022. This is a discharge of mortgage for Darlene E. Frazier from 1999 for amount of $3,900. This is for a home owner repair program, the HORP program. The 5 years have passed, so we can discharge this one. Resolution 23.
Wait a minute, we will make sure.
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Agnes.
Okay, resolution 23-215, agenda number 1012. This is also a discharge under the homeowner repair program, HORP. This is from 2013 for Elizabeth Costa, a property 2022 Kennedy Boulevard, and it also qualifies for discharge. Next one is 23-216, agenda number 1024. This is also a discharge for the homeowner repair program. This is for Elizabeth Costa as well from 2014. Property 2022 Kennedy Boulevard. And again, it's eligible for discharge due to the restriction period expired. It was 5 years. Any questions for discharges? All right. And my last resolution is 23-218, agenda number 1026. This is for CDBG CV project. This is to spend the CV grant amount by end of March of this year. And it's granted to Domus Corporation. Domus is the Catholic Charities of Archdiocese of Newark. And it's for $234,000 and $234,300. And it's for replacement of windows, inoperable windows on 4 properties. And I will read these properties to you. It's on 75 Greenville, 389 Bergen Avenue, 249 Virginia Avenue, 39 Gifford Avenue. Any questions?
Agnes, with regards to the dates, so is this a reimbursement grant, or is this, where's this money now, I guess, because the deadline is yesterday. So
This will be based on bid, basically. Bid that will be accepted. So we will reimburse straight to the contractor. Yeah, because the deadline is really coming up. So we are rushing. We got all the ducks in order on this one.
okay.
So thank you so much.
He's just trying to be funny. Do me a favor. Close the door. Yeah, that's why you close the doors. It keeps to make it dry.
Good afternoon, Council. I'll be bringing off 3 resolutions today. The first one is Resolution 23-217, agenda number 1025. The resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City awarding the Community Development Block Grant of the COVID-19 funding approved the execution of subrecipient with Angela Cares, Inc. to an administrator her here for a seniors program for the year 22 and 23.
Can you talk about the Here for Seniors program? Like, what is it?
So this will be her
Services?
first time receiving our DCD funds. She says never received our entitlement funds in the past. We did have some over unallocated CV dollars that we are proposing for her for 1 year, which she's already received from 22 to 23. So this is a reimbursement grant. So she's going to be doing some expenses for our case manager, program expenses for the seniors. And then we will have her into contract, which she does for the seniors for nutritional food. She does, helps them with any initiatives. But if you need any details, I can send you some in the email.
That's good. Thank you.
The next one is 23-220, agenda number 10.28. And this is to authorize renewal of the contract for our Civitas consultants for technical assistance of the City of Jersey City of all aspects of HUD grant management for the CARES program implementation.
When, specifically for CARES, when does that time frame end?
So we have it until 2025.
Okay, and do you have a sense off the top of your head how many funds have yet to be expended out of our CARES dollars?
So right now we needed about 80% spent by July of this year,
Okay.
and then a whole 100% by 2025.
How close are we to the?
We are meeting, yeah, we're basically almost spent for 2023. So most of our initiatives were going on since 2021.
Sure, that was my understanding. And do we need to continue the technical assistance?
We do. So right now we are still in staff turnaround. They do our fiscal services as well as do our consultants because we're doing extensive monitoring.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next resolution is 23-219, agenda number 10.27. And this is also initiative for CARES funding for previously spent dollars for our summer youth program of last year for 2022-2023. Thank you.
Council President, members of the council, I have 3 ordinances and 5 resolutions today. I'll start with agenda item 3.1, ordinance 23-025. This is an ordinance supplementing the vehicles and traffic chapter of the municipal code, amending section 332-24.1 on Bergen Avenue from Newkirk to SIP. The ordinance would essentially establish 6 additional parking spaces on Bergen Avenue. And the traffic director is here to answer any questions if you have any. Okay. The next ordinance or the next item is agenda number 3.2, ordinance 23-026. This one is related to the next item, which is 3.3. Council President, if you're okay with it, I think it makes sense to talk about that one first.
Okay, great.
So agenda item 3.3, ordinance 23-027 is an ordinance for St. Paul's Avenue between Tunnelly Avenue and Liberty Avenue, converting that one block of the street to a one-way. The transportation director is here to answer any questions about that ordinance if the council has any. Essentially, this is the result of 3 years of community engagement with the residents in this part of the city who had been requesting traffic calming as well as limiting truck traffic that is exiting from the Tunnelly Circle and then entering into a local street. So we've gone through multiple rounds of just testing different things that could work. We tested roundabouts, we tested curb extensions, different types of traffic calming interventions. And this was the final one that the community had requested. I know there were survey results that were shared with everyone, so happy to answer any questions about.
Walker, as we know, 75% of the people said no. Fire department said no. OEM said no. So we'll bring it before the council, and the whole council has been made aware of it. There has to be some issues solved there, and but this is not the answer. And according to the professional people in the police, fire, and OEM.
I'll keep it simple. I'm gonna vote no on this tomorrow or Thursday.
Thursday.
On Wednesday, all right?
It's actually Thursday.
Guys,
Or no on Wednesday.
ask your questions because this is a hot topic, so.
So my question go to the comment the councilman said about the concerns with our fire department and with the Office of Emergency Management. So can you talk us through what came out of the study and why this is obviously you're not going to speak for them, but why this may be a concern? Because that's a big concern.
Yeah, thank you. We definitely won't speak for them. And I'll just provide a little bit of context on their involvement up until now. And I'll pass it over to Director Manzella to talk about specific feedback we've gotten and why this is the recommendation. So even before this one-way pilot that we had tested on the street for a period of about a week, we had tested other types of traffic calming improvements. The ask from the community, the asks were two things. One is to limit cut-through traffic from the region where people are getting off of 1 and 9, Route 7, the Tunnelly Circle, and then using St. Paul's Avenue as a cut-through to get to 139 or whatever their final destination is, and to limit truck traffic specifically because the street is marked as a no truck route. And yet a lot of trucks are using that street and there isn't adequate enforcement. Obviously, you can't have someone 24/7 positioned out there to stop the trucks. So we were solving for two things, traffic calming and the trucks. Early on when we tried different interventions, like the roundabouts, the curb extensions, and even the one-way, not only did we share the recommendations with the OEM director, we also had instances where the fire department was responding to calls and was using this temporarily one-way street as their route to get to the destination where they had to get to, and didn't report issues in being able to respond. The pilot didn't last long enough for us to collect more evidence like that of the practical application. And then I know that there have been representatives from fire department who have opposed the one-way proposal. There have also been people who work for the fire department who have written to us in their official city capacity to say that they support the changes. So Mike can talk a little bit more about just specific feedback that we've gotten about elements of the one-way and design things that we could do.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is that, there was the former fire chief did speak up at the public meeting and oppose the one-way, which we, understand. I think the important thing is we are willing to sit down with the fire department, emergency response OEM to design it in a way that a fire truck would be able to access the street still, even during a one-way. But we haven't had that chance to sit down with the fire department yet and actually design the striping to accommodate emergency response vehicles.
So,
Mike,
Mike,
what, Mike? Let me ask why, Mike? Why do you have an opportunity to sit down with?
yeah,
them?
that's
I want to know.
basically.
So we reached out to OEM with the plans. We just haven't had a chance to actually get the meeting together. I think introducing the ordinance is the first step. And at this point, we will sit down and as this moves forward, we can come up with a design that meets everyone's needs.
I just have a follow-up question, if I may. Why only a 1 week study? Wouldn't a 2-week study or a 1-week study or a 3-month study been preferable here? I'm just trying to understand why, if you need this for data collection, why was it so short?
I think we would have also preferred a much longer study, given that there was such an outcry from the community to do something, and that the one way was one of the options that was presented but not tested. We definitely wanted to test it, given that it was during the holidays. We just were not able to have support from public safety to continue
Mike,
it. For
we're all aware of everything you've done, and I want to thank Barker, I want to thank you. However, 75% of the people said no to this, all right? And I have a whole thing here. I'm not going to read it. It was drawn up by Pam for me. But something has to be done over there, maybe to cool down the traffic going down there. Now, in Little India Square, they're violently against it. They're getting a number of people signing petitions against it. People over on the big buildings down there are against it. Something has to be done, but this is not the answer. And you're not going to endanger people's lives by making it a one-way going down.
Go ahead.
I can just quickly also answer the previous question about why it wasn't longer. And just to add on to what Mike said, the intention was for it to be longer. It was advertised actually as happening for a longer period of time than it ended up being. But while it was in place, because of the initial change that people had to deal with, we started to get feedback from a lot of people saying like, take this away immediately. And we had always advertised it as, we understand it's going to be an adjustment, but for us to really understand what the impacts are going to be, it has to be in place longer. And I don't think the pilot was given the opportunity to be sustained on the ground as long as we would have preferred. And so I totally hear the councilman, and he's right. The numbers on the survey that we have currently do show that more people were saying no to the one-way option than people who said yes to it. And we, otherwise we wouldn't bring this to council if we thought it was as simple as most people are disagreeing with it. That should be the end of the conversation. But based on all the studies that have happened, we feel like even when we do the rest of the traffic calming measures that we have planned for the street for this year, which includes repaving it, putting in the concrete bump outs to narrow the street, having more high visibility crosswalks, adding some greenery to make the street feel narrower. Even after we do all of that, we feel pretty confident that we will not stop hearing from the residents that the street feels unsafe, because there's going to be a volume of traffic on that street that won't stop going there. So even though the numbers are saying for now, based on the 1-week pilot that was done, that this is not the right strategy, we feel like if the pilot had been in place for longer, I think other adjustments would have happened in the flow of traffic that may have changed that. But it is hard to see. And we understand the councilman's concerns.
So why don't, if we know that 1 week is not sufficient enough evidence, why don't we give a 30-day notice to the residents for the duration of, I guess, two or 3 weeks? I mean, I would prefer 30 days to get a real understanding of what's going on. And then you meet with OEM and fire and everybody versus coming to bring it to us. You put us in a tough spot. You asking us to vote on something and it only had a 1-week study. You only have time to meet with the fire. Like, it shouldn't be here right now if all of those things haven't been rectified.
Go ahead, Youssef, because you're gonna have to.
Are there other studies that you have done across Jersey City where there were similar instances of traffic where it was like going 2 ways and you guys change it to a 1-way, and even though the residents might not have liked it initially, that it turned out for the better and for everyone's safety?
There might be, I just don't know off the top of my head right now, but we can look at that this week and get back to you.
Because I'm not an engineer. I'm not going to pretend like I know how to do your job, or a police officer or firefighter. I'm just like, this sounds like your professional opinion. And if you have other examples where this has happened in the city, and yes, it should have been longer, as my colleagues have said, but
Yeah,
let me ask you something, Director.
Sorry.
Since it was not long enough for you to make a sound judgment based on your skills, can we just withdraw this until you have the time to do the pilot and then go to OME and the fire department, then bring it back? Because then if we vote it down anyway, you will have to present something new anyway.
Defer to the
I mean, I think
that
that's the best way
decision.
to go.
I just want to say, I don't think that, I don't know if I can commit to executing that, because us testing out pilot improvements leans heavily on DPW and public safety personnel being present to manage those pilots on the ground every day. And I just don't know if I can speak to their resources or their ability to commit to a longer pilot. That's kind of why we were in that position in the first place, is that it requires a dedication of resources that I don't know that we have. Whereas if a design change was made, that's a different set of resources that are coming in to harden the changes.
But it's only 1 week and I don't think everybody's comfortable. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
quick question, regardless of if we table it or not, with the 1 week study that you did do, or if you go back and do a longer study, blocking the traffic from St. Paul's, what then stops the trucks from going up Van Winkle or Newark Avenue? Do we look at whether or not traffic increased on those streets once we blocked off St. Paul's?
It certainly did. I think one of the drawbacks of a 1 week pilot is, again, people don't have an opportunity to sort of change their travel behavior. So I think we were upfront during the public meeting. What we did see was the traffic that was going down St. Paul's would then spill over to other streets and cause congestion on those streets. We have proposed one mitigation factor, which is putting a left turn lane on Tonnelle at Van Winkle. As what we saw was, when that traffic that was making a left onto St. Paul's was now going down to Van Winkle, and the street would back up just as St. Paul's would back up, there was no place for that left turn vehicle to be queuing, so it would back up even the through traffic behind it. So one of the mitigation factors that we proposed, and actually had strong support in the survey, regardless of the one way or not, was to add that left turn lane at Van Winkle. But we certainly did see that during a 1 week pilot, it's really not enough time, again, to see traffic change their behavior, and we saw other streets get very congested.
So,
I did see between the two surveys that the first survey, or the survey that got you to this presentation, did support option 3, which would have made it a total one way from the boulevard to Tonnelle. Now, there were significant, less response. But is there a way to, I don't know, kind of compare the two surveys of the 100 versus the almost 400? Was it a huge cry from maybe the Newark Ave business community or Kenko Lofts, which felt adversely affected, rather than the actual neighbors and people who live on that strip of land, who, based on what I've seen and heard and we've gotten, those are the people that are okay dealing with the one way, and probably more affected if they own a car.
Yeah, I could speak to the survey results. I think, the initial survey that we had put out in August, which was the first survey to propose a one-way as a potential solution, maybe didn't reach all of the residents sort of in the surrounding community as quite broadly. Once, it was put out there that the one-way was seriously being considered in the pilot, I think that let a lot of people know that, the city was seriously looking at this option. And then at the public meeting, there was a significant call to do another survey. And we were really diligent in trying to make sure to hit all parts of the community. And what you'll see when you break down the survey results sort of by address is exactly what you said. Yeah, I think those who sort of live outside of the Tonnelle to JFK portion of St. Paul's are very much against it, as it will add travel time for anyone trying to go northbound on JFK. And as you would imagine, the folks that live directly on St. Paul's and face St. Paul's, where there is a school, have the strongest concern about safety and want to see that cut through traffic and that truck traffic off the street.
and I think that the ones that are opposing it, that are driving, correct? Like, it's not fair to them as well, because there's really not that many routes they can take within Jersey City, because we are under construction and we are some serious traffic throughout the entire city. So with that said, you can't blame the person who has to travel through that route and is stuck on traffic literally half hour when it's a 5-minute route or a 10-minute route. You can't blame that. You know, I mean, it concerns me a little bit when we say we send out an email to public safety and they haven't responded. I'm going to send them an email right after this meeting today, because there are several concerns here. You know, not just with this area, and I don't like to get off topic and start talking about other places in the city that have the same concern, but we have a dilemma. Now, downtown, like this similar situation is exactly what happened in Grand Street, and I was so much against that situation in Grand Street because you're kind of like almost cutting public safety. I sat in Grand Street for 30, 40 minutes without moving. We did the same thing in Montgomery, and now we're going to do the same thing in another street. I think we have to sit down and really plan out, instead of just keep on green lighting these projects that are like crippling the city. And the people who live within the area, and either travelers throughout the city, you know, people get frustrated. You know, they really do get frustrated. But my biggest concern, I come and I look at it from a public safety angle, that really concerns me, and we have to do a better job than that.
So administration, what do you want to do here? Because we don't want to beat a dead horse. You can see we don't really want it. I'm just, you know.
Yeah, can I just,
very hard.
yeah, sorry, it's okay. Can I said, sorry, right, just two quick things. The first one is, you were sort of getting at this, I think, the Councilman Ridley's question, but you know, assuming you put the one-way in place and you're obviously proposing it, can you just outline, like, what does sort of success look like? What are ultimately the benefits if you believe that this is done, and why you believe it's better than the alternative?
You only did 1 week, so
I understand that, but
Yeah.
that's why I want.
So as far as success factors, we have traffic data that we're collecting on a continuous basis. We have mile vision cameras at Tonelli and St. Paul's and Tonelli and Newark. So we would look to monitor what the traffic counts, volumes are on the other streets after the pilot. In terms of other measures, there's really not a whole lot else in our toolbox that we can do, which is why we are putting forward this ordinance, that, you know, the community is really looking for us to do something to
But you think,
cut down.
but you think it will significantly reduce the traffic volumes and the trucks on St. Paul's, right? I just want to.
Certainly on St. Paul's, it
Sure.
would significantly reduce volumes, as it would pretty much remove that as a cut through.
Right. Sure. And I think,
Oh.
Councilman, I think you were maybe getting at this, but you know, I very much heard Director Patel's concern saying, well, if we do a pilot, how do we know if the resource is? But I care, you know, Councilor Boggiano and Ward C, I mean, if it's a priority of the council to do a real pilot and get real data for us, can we, as a council, work with the administration and make sure that the resources are there for you to do that work?
That's that, because it's difficult for me to commit to whether or not we'd be able to carry that out. And yeah, because it's a change that requires actual people on the ground managing, especially if we're not going to put in any hard barriers. We've seen, you know, people, when these things are in place, just get out of the car and move things aside and continue driving.
Right.
It really requires a type of monitoring day to day that I don't know that we would have. And that kind of direction would help us also just figure out how to prioritize other projects across the city that are in similar positions.
Just to the department's credit, you did the design based on initial.
What was
surveys
being asked of
and
us.
the
Yes.
public meetings. You gave options for the design. And it's not your fault that the survey results are so severely different than the first time. But I mean, that goes to just our accountability on reaching out to the community. Like, we can't let you do all this work and use all of these resources and then have to flip the switch after. So I think a longer pilot is.
Yeah, and I would just say that I think on a lot of other streets, we have the issue of trying to balance safety for people who are vulnerable on the streets. Like, I guess I should have backed up earlier and just said the way that this started and the community reached out to the transportation team to even look at this street was that they were seeing not only near misses on their intersections, but people actually being hit by vehicles because of just such large volumes of vehicles, and then trucks threatening sort of like the integrity of people's homes and the vibrations they were causing because there's such a high volume of this traffic on the street. So that's how we started. We already tried a lot of the things that we're proposing trying more of this year, and they obviously they weren't enough. They helped a little bit, but they weren't enough. And so every other pilot that we've done since then has been a direct result or a direct ask of the community members. Can you try, protected bike lanes? The rest of the community said, no, we don't want that. So we didn't try that. Can you try roundabouts? We tried that. The results were split. And then the next thing was, can you try the one way? And now that we tried the one way, the results in the survey say, well, actually protected bike lanes or roundabouts would be better. So it is going to be difficult to get to a consensus. And we did see enough of the positive changes from the one way or the immediate area that was seeing people getting hit in the crosswalk, kids getting hit as they were trying to cross the street. Like, we did see those improvements, whether it was a 1-week pilot or not, to lead us to a point where the community was saying, we want you to formalize this. So that's just providing a little more context that we didn't, get to earlier. And this is 3 years in the making at this point.
Okay, administration. Only a week. You didn't have support.
The Energizer Bunny. Council, I obviously see there's some concerns here with the longevity of the study, and what I would like to do is just work with the team before Thursday and set the parameters of what it would look like if we do decide to withdraw this, and then reintroduce something new with new parameters around it that would satisfy the needs of both the elected officials and the community at large.
Yeah, I think we have a concern here.
And if I can just add, I think as part of that with Councilman Boziano's office and infrastructure administration is very clearly delineating what resources are required to have a successful pilot, and then having a commitment before Thursday that we're going to be able to have those resources in progress. Because obviously, I think to what the director just said about the safety concerns and the 3-year timeline, that we don't want to just sort of let that fall into the ether, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree, Councilman. I think we'll look at a daily basis and then project out what a week or 2 weeks or a month would look like from that resource perspective.
So just on that note, the other ordinance was tied to this project, which was agenda item 3.2, ordinance 23-026. So I'm just assuming same deal for that one.
Same deal.
Okay.
So Rich?
Yeah.
He wants clarity on it.
Sure.
What are you guys going to do? So could you make it clear to the councilman exactly what's going to happen? Because he has a concern, and his constituents is really calling him. They're not that happy with this. Okay.
All right.
We did agree that a week was not enough for a study. That's what we're listening to. You guys said it's not enough. So if it's not enough, then I'm concerned is why are we even going forward here? Can't we do a longer study and then come back? Because a week, based on your expertise, is not enough. The only reason I'm saying that because you don't want it to just get voted down altogether.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I don't think we're saying that a week is not enough for us to know whether the one-way option solves the issues that we were trying to solve for. I'm saying because the pilot was short and people didn't get a chance to get used to it is probably why we were seeing the same people who were asking for the one way now saying, we don't really want this. So it's not that the pilot wasn't long enough for us to know whether a one-way works geometrically, physically for the street itself to solve the problems of, removing the truck traffic, reducing the volumes. It does do that. We did see it do that. It's just whether or not we got enough people seeing that that's what, the outside of the immediate area. The people who are in the immediate area saw the benefit of the one-way during the week, and they were the ones who pushed us. to try to formalize the change.
Yeah, and the people in the immediate area are definitely gonna say, yes, it's gonna help us, but that traffic is gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think we're trying
Concern.
to whether the conflict points for people who are like almost getting hit by the volume of vehicles versus travel time delay for, you know, people who are trying to get from point A to point B. And what we've been prioritizing is the safety for the vulnerable users.
And Barker, don't forget, somebody has to get after the state to open up that Broadway ramp. I mean, because this is what's causing most of the problems,
Yeah.
right? I set going down there when you had the one-way, 10 lights to get to West Side Avenue,
Yeah.
10 lights to go to the church there. We had an affair going on.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this street being right next to major interchanges and highways that are state routes does not help matters at all.
Martha, have we looked at just
Parker, I wanna
installing,
thank you.
no left turns from off of Tunnelly onto any of those streets?
Yes, that's what the second ordinance was.
I thought everyone wanted that though. No, sorry. Wasn't that something that was, the community wanted? The 3.3, was it?
3.2.
No?
The left
Oh.
turn lane on Tonelli.
Yeah, I thought that was something that everyone wanted. No?
Yeah, that was supported.
Can we keep
that your-
that?
No, I was saying, have we looked at having no left turns off of Tunnelly? No left turn onto St. Paul's?
It's something we've considered. I think that would require a significant amount of enforcement to actually.
I mean, somebody's always going to do it, but I mean,
Yeah.
it might reduce some of the bigger trucks.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's really also just a quicker solve, at least for the truck traffic, is for dedicated enforcement, at least for a little while, to make sure the trucks aren't entering that street. But I understand that that's not, you know, always a possibility.
Parker, I just want to say thank you to you and Mike. Sorry for driving you crazy, but, all right.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, next one, Barker.
Okay. Move really quickly. Moving on to resolutions, agenda item 10.29. Resolution 23-221 is authorizing the execution of a deed notice between PPG Industries and the city of Jersey City regarding the property at Garfield Avenue, block 21501, lot 20.02. And the city engineer is here to answer any questions or describe this resolution.
Afternoon, council. The 1029, 1030, and 1031 all have the same goal in mind, and they're all to do with the same area. It's the area of Garfield near Carteret. We know that there has been a lot of soil remediation in the area. 1029 specifically is just adding another area onto the list that PPG is already in agreement with DEP that they have to fix. So they've kind of worked their way back from Pacific, and now they're moving all the way up to Garfield. So this is one additional piece that's added onto the list that will hold PPG accountable to do the soil remediation.
Add any more? Because if we just keep
So
adding
do we
it.
need late items? Is that what we're asking for?
Any questions on this?
Parker, get him a raise.
Okay, next one.
Councilman Bogiano likes my haircut. He's saying he wants
Do the
that for
next
the
one,
record.
Do the next one. Read
Who's
the
your
next one.
barber?
Moving on
10.30.
agenda item 10.30, resolution 23-222, ratifying a professional services agreement with Endpoint Environment and Infrastructure to provide the city with environmental services for the department.
So again, this is the same area, and this is a consultant that has had a lot of historical knowledge of this area. We've been under agreement with PPG and with DEP since 2008, and this has been the company. They've changed their name from Endpoint, which they are now. They used to be ERFS, but it's the same company that has, you know, well over a decade of historical knowledge in this area and knows every step of this soil remediation. And this will be for an $80,000 contract that will get us through the rest of 2023 with this contractor. Again, it's a do not exceed. So last year we spent around 50,000 of the 80, and it's a do not exceed 80,000.
The next one is agenda item 10.31, resolution 23-223, authorizing the execution of a notice in lieu of deed notice between PPG Industries and the city for a property designated as Garfield Avenue between Carteret Avenue and the Hudson Bergen Light Rail. This is part of the PPG Chromium cleanup.
I have a question. Is it normal to take this long for chromium remediation?
Well, this is a really, really extensive cleanup, and it hasn't been full force, throughout this entire time. It is a much longer cleanup than normal, but it is also incredibly deep. There's some areas that it goes 20 feet deep. There's some areas that they've kind of utilized different methods. There's a lot of areas where there's underground utilities. So it was a very tricky remediation.
Okay, the next one is agenda item 10.46, resolution 23-238. This is a resolution authorizing an extension of an agreement with River North Transit, also known as VIA, to provide on-demand transit services for the city. The contract term would be for 1 year, and we will keep it really brief. We did send over materials previously, and we just have a hard copy in case the council would like to review. We do also have the VIA team here to either answer any questions or run through the materials if you would like. We'll defer to you on how much we want to get into things.
Barker, how much do we give them, Barker?
The contract amount last year was $7.4 million. And this year is just shot. The proposed amount for this award is just a little bit less than that amount. And we do have several grants and funding sources that will offset it by quite a large percentage for this year.
Why don't we just get New Jersey Transit to increase the bus service?
I would love that.
Love that.
Yeah, we would all love that.
Well, let's get up to the mayor to call the governor and tell him we want it.
I won't comment on that.
On. We had bus service here years ago. That was unbelievable. Bergen Avenue bus service. I speak to the guy who lives in Florida now.
Part of the problem is when they shut down.
Yes.
On the south side didn't have no transportation. So we partnered with VIA to help that. And I know they're doing a great job and I know we're paying into this. It's just that you can't afford to leave people stranded on one side of the city. And that's, we just don't want to do that. VIA, do you want to give us some good news, future news?
They drive around Mercedes-Benz.
Hey everyone, thank you for having us here today. We're excited to be before you again. My name is Michael Hutchison. I am a director of partner success at VIA. I help work with our Jersey City team. I'm joined here by my colleague, Madeline.
Hi everyone, I'm Madeline Yee. I'm the general manager of the Jersey City service.
Okay.
So we can either run through the deck that you've got in front of you.
Mike, you can bring that mic up to you.
Right.
That tall guy.
Thank you.
Just a summary. Just give us a summary. Good news.
Very high level. The service has been a success and it continues to be one. We've done a number of actual changes from our meeting last year, which I think would be worthwhile to touch on as have, clear impacts on what we've done so far. The first one that we committed to last year was increasing the consistency of wait times. So we've seen that number drop down already by a couple of minutes from what it was previously. Previously was around 19 minutes ETA on average. Now we're down to about 17. And a lot of that is to do with changing some of our algorithmic parameters, also in line with some of the other requests you made last year, such as increasing vehicle capacity to get more people in those vehicles, increasing capacity by suggesting more riders to take the NJ Transit buses that do exist. So we implemented multimodal proposals in August of last year, and now 98% of all people who put in a request through the VIA app are getting directed at times to fix it out.
Come closer with
Can
that
you,
mic.
yeah, can you come closer to the mic? I'm barely,
Oh yeah, I can
my
definitely.
ears are squinting.
Okay, go ahead.
So we implemented multimodal in August of last year. So that's when riders can get directed to a fixed route service if it makes more sense for that proposal. We also started to prioritize getting people on vehicles and on time on vehicles versus sometimes for longer trajectories. You might be waiting on a vehicle for longer, but you waited less time to get on that, and more people are getting on those vehicles to begin with. So that's another area that we've really been able to boost our seat availability metrics. So more and more riders are getting out there, and it's proving to be very well received. What we also did over the past year was also recommended by you guys was to conduct more senior outreach and more rider outreach. And so we've worked in a lot of your wards already to do those service outreach. And we've done some great implementations, such as adding door-to-door toggles for senior riders. We've been working with certain community groups to give them concession codes. And we've also been able to do surveys that have provided us with great insights as to what is working, where we can sort of track our future progress in the area. So a lot of great results over this past year, and all elements that we're looking to continue driving on this coming year.
All right. Any question, guys?
And what kind of cars you drive? Mercedes? I see those vans, they're real expensive vans. Maybe if you got some Fords or Plymouths or something like that, you drop the price down.
Which, contrary to popular, the Mercedes are not that expensive.
Right.
Really not.
We tested a bunch of vehicles for the fleet when we first launched, and then several times throughout that when there have been issues with the fleet and with vehicles being available in our region. Really, the target audience for the system were people who don't have really good, convenient access to transit currently. So families, people who are doing childcare and need to store strollers and grocery bags and a lot of things in the vehicles. And we also wanted people to feel like they were riding in dignity when they were using public transit and not feeling.
It's not dignity.
So the vehicles were chosen for a reason. Some of the vehicles are electric, but most of them are the Mercedes. And it's one of the things that people comment on, being a really major advantage of the system. But we're always looking at other vehicles.
I guess my question is around, and maybe someone for VIA can answer. So since the last time you guys were here with regards to the VIA contract, how many new drivers were hired?
That information.
Oh, so it's going to be a quick list. So I want to know how many was hired, how many specifically were from Jersey City, and what specific community groups have you been meeting with for this community outreach? And for this extension, these are for the bigger buses, correct?
Sorry.
For this extension, is it for, no, it says bus service on the van. It's still a regular car service though, right?
Yeah, the vehicles would be the same as.
Oh, so we're not getting bigger vehicles?
No, just extending the contract itself.
Okay.
In terms of driver recruitment, VIA, since they launched, have been trying to hire specifically from Jersey City as much as possible, and then mostly from Hudson County. So they do have those numbers, maybe just not right now. I don't know if you have.
Oh, no, she might have it. She's coming up.
For this one exactly, we do know it's 60% of our drivers are from Jersey City proper. 80% of them are from the surrounding areas, including Bayonne and Newark. So we, as much as possible, do try to hire from this population.
Thank God you put New Jersey plates on the cars.
Can I, a couple of questions. I know you have a chart here. I'm having a little trouble discerning it, but could you describe what happened as you implemented these multimodal kind of I don't know, push notifications or what you'd call them? What's been the result?
When you say what has been the result, what are we looking for here?
I mean, how frequently are trips canceled? Because the person will then, you obviously don't know if they take the other mode of transportation, but might have. And does that differ from the average trip cancellation when they're not getting it, or prior to the implementation of the alerts?
Absolutely. So in that case, we are somewhat limited with how much information we have when it comes to multimodal, because when we put in a proposal, you will either get your VIA proposal or you will get your bus itinerary.
Right.
And for riders who are just looking at the bus itinerary, they might then close the app.
Right.
And we then deem that as an unaccepted proposal at times because we just looked at it, didn't accept VIA.
Right.
And so there's no element of cancellation or whatnot. So it only really can go into certain buckets. It is one element that we are always looking to, ramp up, see what more multimodal capabilities we can figure out. And so in working with partners like Jersey City, we're sort of finding out what data elements resonate for you all, so that we can get working on pulling those data pieces even more together.
I think Mike, yeah.
If I can just add to that, after multimodal was implemented, I think it was in August or July, we did not see an increase in declined proposals. In fact, we saw record ridership numbers and record ridership requests. Additionally, over the past year or so, VIA did an analysis of sort of where the trips were coming and going in Jersey City. And their analysis found that less than 25% of those trips could have been fulfilled by fixed route transit that already exists, even though that fixed route transit is at a lower frequency, they might have to wait longer to get it. So their analysis really found that the VIA system is complementing existing fixed route service. It's not cannibalizing it.
A couple more. You know, you guys have been doing the senior outreach. You have the phone line. Do you have any data on how many people are using the phone line, and just broadly, if you can, how many seniors are utilizing the service?
Send it to us.
I believe 1 to 2% of bookings happen through the phone.
Okay.
We're off the top of our heads, we don't have information on senior ridership as a percentage, but we could follow up with that.
That'd be great. And then maybe and I did a couple of the outreach events with you, potentially maybe there's a specific code we can, that's senior specific or outreach specific.
I think that's definitely something we want to implement this year is some more discount codes specifically for seniors and low income riders, repeat riders, to be able to provide a, high quality service at a.
Well,
Right.
Well, on that note, being that you're talking about seniors, right? So have you reached out to like our city senior services? Because I know that they lost a driver, and I know that they can surely, use you guys 100%. I mean, listen, I love VIA. You guys are doing a great job, but then when you said that you're reaching out to seniors, but I'm wondering, if the Department of Senior Affairs has been contacted by you guys.
Yeah, they were contacted when we did start this outreach this year.
And what was the outcome?
Engage with them. I believe they attended several of the events. I don't know if they specifically had any request to supplement their own service.
They went with me to the event at Grace Van for Senior
Yeah.
Center, her community services. That's just one. Director Eccleston was there. Yeah.
In terms of seniors too, that's where I hear the most complaints for VIA with their rides being canceled or the walking distance and then they're walking there and then it's being canceled, but also the limitation of lifts and wheelchair accessibility too. How many of the vehicles are equipped to, have seniors go on with some sort of accessibility device? And is there a way that you can prioritize senior riders that if their rides do get canceled, they can have another shot at it quickly?
Yeah, so I'll speak to the walking distance, if you will. So one of the things that VIA is able to do is basically turn any senior rider or any rider with any sort of ability restriction to a direct door-to-door pickup. So if there are constituents that you have that have that concern, you can send it over to myself or through the VIA helpline, and we'll be able to add them as a door-to-door rider. I'll let maybe Madeline speak about the other.
Sure. Yeah. To the question about the vehicles themselves, we have 7 wheelchair accessible vehicles in the fleet. That makes just about 15%. And we do try to prioritize having as many of them on the road as we can, especially at peak hours. One thing I'll note is, of course, they have a lower seat capacity. Fewer people can fit on them at once. So it is, you know, a trade-off that we do consider.
Have you made any progress on language access? So having either the app or other materials in multiple languages?
Yeah, so this was another question that came up, I believe, last year, and it where it comes down to is we currently are offered in both English and Spanish, and we have the capabilities to add just about every language beyond that. It does come at sort of a development cost of about $20,000 as one time, and then it's from there on out.
One time per language?
That's right, yeah.
Got it. And is that written into the contract so we can exercise it if we so choose?
It's not currently written into the contract, but we can.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're obviously in a budget crisis here, but like I would at least at minimum create the option for us to do so and strategically think about how to figure that out.
Yeah, we can, let us just discuss with BA and administration and finance and make sure that, you know, adjustment to the breakdown of costs is approved. But if so, we can definitely make that change and try to get it in there before the Thursday meeting.
That'd be great.
And I'm assuming, Councilman, but just correct me if I'm wrong, that starting at least with the top 5 most spoken languages per the census would be acceptable.
Yep. That'd be great. And then you guys have the data on how much it's being used. So that comes back to us and says, okay, well, X% of rides in each language. And obviously we probably want to do outreach to those communities so that they know that service exists. The last thing is just on your last slide, looks like there's a new fare structure. Can you just sort of outline what the new fare structure is?
Yeah, one of the actual action items in the last contract was to reassess the fare as it hadn't been done since the program launched in 2020 during the pandemic. What we've seen over the time the program has been in place is tremendous ridership growth, record ridership growth. So with that, you know, as part of the discussions about trying to keep the budget at where it is or a point lower, one of the items that came into play was a fare increase. So the proposal is to make the fare the same across the board. So right now, if you're in the outer zone and you take a trip to the outer zone, you actually pay a higher rate than someone who's taking a trip from the outer zone to the inner zone. So we're proposing to make that fare structure the same across zones, and then just a 50-cent increase to the base fare to $2.50. VIA did some really significant outreach in terms of surveying the voice of the customer, and the customer has said that getting a seat is the most important thing to them, and they're willing to pay more. On average, the survey showed that riders are willing to pay up to $3.30 per trip. So with this new proposed fare structure, the average fare would be $3.40. And importantly, for those riders who are in the outer zone, in the furthest stretches of the city, they would see essentially no change to the cost of that trip. It really sort of impacts more the riders closer in who are taking it into the inner zone.
Just one more.
There's one more. Okay.
I'm sorry. I know I could have left. Okay, so this was the late item. We just confirmed with Councilwoman Prinzary. So it's agenda item 10.49, resolution 23-241. And I just want to confirm it did get all of the approvals in iCompass and went through everything. I think there was a glitch where it didn't make it on to the agenda. So everyone in the queue has approved it. And this is a resolution awarding a professional engineering services contract to Michael Baker International for the final design submission package for Municipal Avenue safety improvements. The contract is for an additional 12 months for the amount of $19,500. And the traffic director is here if the council has any questions on this resolution.
Want to add anything?
What's going on here?
Right.
Yeah, so we already submitted the final submission to DOT, but we just received a few more comments. So this contract would allow us to complete those comments and resubmit.
Just to get on the record, this was something that was slated to go in the fall of last year. And because they came back with questions and comments, they have to satisfy that with the state before they can get the funding. And this project absolutely has to move to improve this corridor. So I would appreciate council support in letting this resolution move through so the team can do their job to get the work done. So our residents will finally see improvements on the west side of the city that have been long overdue.
I vote no.
Wow. Sorry.
Thank you. Have a problem.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for bearing with.
Here from MUA.
The west side was.
Your name, Ryan? Okay, I know I called you. Okay.
Hello, council, president, council members. Joe Kuna, the director, is not able to attend. My name's Ryan Slager. I'm an engineer at the JCMUA. We have one item this evening. It's ordinance number 23-022
4.5, y'all.
for adoption of the city's lead service line replacement program. Here to answer any questions. This is the second reading of this ordinance.
Council, knowing this was such a big undertaking, we just asked the MUA to come back for the second reading in case there's any follow-ups. So thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Council President and the
Good
members of
evening.
the Council. The Division of IT has 4 renewal resolutions for today. First one is agenda item 10.33, resolution number 23-225. This is to renew a contract with H&L Systems for the financial accounting and the budgetary software that the city uses. The total contract amount is $150,000. The encumbrance is $37,500 out of the temporary budget. The next resolution is agenda item 10.34, resolution number 23.226. This is a resolution of authorizing agreement with Microsystems. This is the application used for the tax assessment and the collections of the tax assessor's office. And the amount on that is $57,241.45. Okay, next agenda item is 10.35, resolution 23-227. This resolution authorizes network management solutions for the tier 3 level support for IT. The total contract amount is $144,300, and the encumbrance amount is $40,000 out of the temporary budget. Network management solutions provide support, tier 3 level supports for our servers and network switches. And the last agenda item is 10.36, resolution 23-228. This resolution authorizes the award to York Telecom. This is for the Go Pilot system that HHS uses for the health licensing, reporting concerns, and IT ticketing system. The total amount on this is $56,700.
I was going to ask, you represent the IT department, and earlier today we had a few IT related resolutions from public safety. Just wanted to understand, is there any discussion between, your department and public safety regarding any of these resolutions?
The public safety,
not the ones you presented, but theirs. Like if you look at, regarding network management and maintenance, and they're talking about servers. I believe that your department division is responsible for maintenance of servers. Like what communication goes on between?
The funny part is the vendor is the same. However, their system is completely on a different domain. Their servers are on a different domain. They have different security level, and we have our servers on a different domain. So We possibly could have conversations with them. Has not been done in the past. That's something I can definitely look at.
Is there a Vivek in their department, or is there someone like a Bernadette? Like, I'm just trying to
Yeah, I would say
understand what goes on.
that would be Robert Baker, if I'm not mistaken. That's the director of IT.
Okay. All right, just wondering.
Yeah.
If the left hand communicates with the right. Thank you.
Yeah, my project would be to look into the security part of it, because their security is much more stronger than ours. And that's something I can definitely look at. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, council members, I just have one. For your consideration, agenda 10.1, Resol 23-193, and that's just to change the custodian for the CDBG petty cash account because Millie Smith retired, so we're replacing the custodian.
It again, Shirley, they couldn't.
We're replacing the custodian for the CDBG petty cash account because Millie Smith retired, so it's just changing the custodian for the account.
Thank you. Casey?
Hello, good afternoon. There are a few resolutions up at the top, 10.2, 10.3, and Councilman Ridley, I'm not sure if 10.4 was an error or there's one missing, but we had asked for resolutions for our recently retired staff who have a combined over 75 years of service with the city, and that was Orlando Diaz, Cliff Perkins, and Jerome Caldwell. Cliff's name's not on there, but it was done, and I think.
Yeah, it was done and submitted. I have,
Yeah.
I just double check tomorrow.
Yeah, just wanted to let them know so they can come on Wednesday. Thursday is the meeting?
Thursday.
I will not be here. I will be watching my fabulous basketball team in Madison Square Garden. I also have 1010, which is the receipt of a $510,000 grant through a congressional appropriation to build a food pantry at Curry's Woods, which aligns with our Aero Farm program and the food desert of that neighborhood. So that's it.
Judge, what an honor.
Good afternoon, Council President and members of the City Council. I'm here today, as you see, up for reappointment. So first off, I'd just like to say the last time we convened and I met with you, it was when the initial appointment as Chief Judge, and I conveyed to you at the time that my goals were to successfully transition the court from COVID posturing and pandemic posture that was in place with remote operations to the eventuality that we have now, where we are returning by way of directive of the state judiciary to more in-court proceedings and everything that transition would entail, the struggles, the opportunities. And I'm happy to report that we've been very successful to this point in terms of our case numbers, the amount of cases we're hearing and chipping away at that large backlog that was created by virtue of the fact that during the pandemic, operations ceased for a certain amount of time. So we've been successful in that. I also stated at the time that in light of the critical work to transition from the COVID arrangement we had to the return to in-person operations was also that we didn't want to lose our ability to innovate it, because I think all of you can be very proud of the work that the Jersey City Municipal Court does. We are an innovator in terms of what we're doing with specialty courts, particularly for the challenges we face now, mental health court, domestic violence, everything related to what we're experiencing in the criminal justice sphere, as well as just in the social sphere. We have services in place that address this, and it's part of our judicial work we do in terms of dispensing of cases. We're making use of the services as well. And I think a lot of your constituents, I don't know if you've heard it or not, but have been expressed to the court itself. They're very happy with what we've provided. So we haven't lost the ability to innovate while doing the hard work of positioning the court for where things are going in terms of the statewide directives and the return to in-person operations. And that was really a big goal. We are the, if not one of the biggest municipal courts in the state. We hear 400,000 cases annually. So our volume is tremendous. Our challenges are unique, but I think I can report back since the last time we convened that we're successfully going about being a leader and also meeting the challenges that we're faced with today. So I hope I have your support for reappointment, and I want to answer any questions you may have.
Judge, you and your wife are two of the best people in Jersey City. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think, we hear over 400,000 cases.
Yes, we heard 400,000 cases annually.
I think we got a problem with, enforcement. That's way too many citations given out.
Well, I'm going to keep.
That's too little.
I'm fortunate to say that we're judiciary. That's a law enforcement issue. So I'm going to reserve and let law enforcement answer that question, but yes.
I know that we've had a few judges confirmed through here. Does your municipal court have enough prosecutors for the judges that we've confirmed, or?
No, currently now we're short one. Of course, we'd always ask for more if the resources provide, but right now, currently, we've added, I believe it was 2022 or late 2021, we added an additional full-time judge to our bench. We do not have a prosecutor to assign to that judge as of now. So we are short one, yes.
You could take Yusuf.
No. I think. I'm not gunning for that position.
I know they're working on a prosecutor. That's something that's in the works, so we know about the shortage there, Judge, we do. So I know that's something we've been working on.
And when I speak to when I speak to case volume, inherent in that, is prosecutors who can dispense of those cases. And we can only do more if we have prosecutors to oversee that caseload.
Is there a reason why it's only a 3-year appointment, or what's the rationale? Is that just based on state law, or is that based on municipal law? Like, what's the?
That is a state law matter.
Okay. So they're the ones that say municipal courts have to be 3-year.
Right. The municipal court is governed by 2A of the New Jersey state statutes, which sort of speaks to the larger organization of local government, whereas judiciary is separate and apart. The Superior Court and up and the rest of the judicial branch is subject to a separate area of the law, which concerns their appointment process, the term of service, the tenure, whereas the municipal courts are governed by 2A, which is more the oversight and the formation of municipal government.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sean, take it from the top. I have no more. I know I have lawyers out here. They all waiting. Let's get to their resolutions so they can jump right in.
Very good.
So the only first reading ordinance that wasn't touched on was item 3.4, City Ordinance 23-028 is an ordinance naming Berry Lane Park Amphitheater, Harriet Tubman Amphitheater in honor of Harriet Tubman.
Council, that was a request coming from Friends of Berry Lane Park, and that is the area near the big Harriet Tubman Memorial. So not the entire park, just that amphitheater where the memorial is.
On to our second reading ordinance, item 4.1, City Ordinance 23-015 is an ordinance ratifying the renewal of a lease agreement with Journal Square Plaza Urban Renewal Associates for office space and a kiosk at 1 Journal Square Plaza.
John, can you just speak to the information for the kiosk display here?
Yeah, Councilman, that's like the ones we have throughout the city. It's the information kiosk.
Okay, it's the same one that's by.
Yeah, it's just that it's on the property, so we make sure that it's
Okay.
activated. Yeah, and just for the council's knowledge, this is the chief's office that's over at Journal Square, and as we move into the new facility, we'll no longer be renewing this.
Okay. Item 4.2, City Ordinance 23-019 is an ordinance establishing the Jersey City Municipal Construction Board of Appeals.
So council, unfortunately, the mayor was not available to come speak tonight, but just from our follow-up conversation from the last council meeting, I know Councilwoman Prinzary did bring up some points. The county does have a monthly meeting that would mirror the meetings that we have locally. We were able to look at the union contracts and we can alter timing so that if staff members did have to attend a nightly meeting, they could do so without causing any overtime effects. And just kind of reiterating some of the points that we made last time, at the local level, there is a limited pool of professionals that can serve on this board. So what happens there is it creates a situation where we're continuously renewing the same individuals, and many of them do have business interests within the city, which could potentially cause a conflict. I'm not saying there is a conflict. I'm saying that it's better to widen the pool at the county level. They are handling most of the cities throughout the county already. And it's kind of redundancy of services that could be provided at the county level.
Yeah, John, instead of eliminating it, like we spoke, let's change it. Bring Billy Santamoro into it and let him bring in new people and let it be run right. Turning it over to the county is not the answer.
So a couple of questions I'd asked at first reading. One were how are the members of the county board appointed?
It's supported through the commission, the county commission.
So the county executive appoints.
Right, confirmed by the county.
Got it. Okay. And is that list
they try to
public?
do equal representation throughout the districts.
Can you give us the list of the current commission?
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
It's on the
Yep.
agenda. What are the ethics and conflict rules that currently govern the Jersey City Board?
I think, obviously they're bound by all of the, state ethics laws that bind all public officials. I can find that. I can pull that for you. There's nothing outside of what would stand for any other appointed officials. I would say, if there's a situation such as if there's a Jersey City matter that goes to the county, if there are any Jersey City, employees on the county board, they would have to potentially abstain from any votes.
And I think maybe as a council discuss the idea of not voting so quickly and discussing whether we can develop a rule of conflict of interest policy, ethics rules to apply to the Jersey City Board.
So to Councilman's point, taking a look at if there are bylaws that create the committee, putting different rail guards in place for a structure, saying if you have a project, X number of projects in the city, you have to recuse yourself. You have to let an alternate take your place. I think that before we move it to the county, and again, I think we all kind of share the same concern that with not only the size of our city, but the amount of projects in our city, moving it to the county may slow things down. I'm not saying that that would be bad. I'm just saying that that's something I think that we really need to think through before we move it.
I would just emphasize that, if the council does decide to go in that direction, we already had a very extremely limited pool. That's why we have renewals that extend over a decade now. And as we tighten those restrictions, it's virtually going to be impossible to find members to serve on that board at a local level. So,
And John, I find that hard to believe. There's so many people out there that want to, come on.
Councilman, if you have a list of recommendations, we're happy to take a look at them.
Billy Santamoro's here, and I'm sure he can get people to do it. Dissolve the board that's there now, avoid any problems now that may be coming up, and let them create a new one. Turning it over to the county is ridiculous.
John, can you send us what, I guess, the requirements are for board membership?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a professional within the construction, building, and environment with experience, and we'll provide that. The issue that happens with professionals, I'm not speaking to the members on the board, just in general, is that most times they end up being conflicted out, or it's kind of a gray area because they're maybe not necessarily working on a project, but they're a consultant to a project, and there can be some gray areas there where when you expand the pool at a county level, you open the pool up to a county and it creates maybe not such friction that would exist at such a local level.
So I guess my question is, what would be the difference in the county having a capacity to fill a seat versus the city? Wouldn't we have or do you have to live in a certain place to sit on the board?
Yeah,
or-
it's a local residency requirement. So we're limited to the professionals within the city. But the county would be, obviously all the cities involved. And they rely on the commissioners to kind of help source some of that where we're particularly limited.
Now, in the past, have we had issues where we couldn't fill these seats?
I believe it's an ongoing situation for over a decade now, preceding us as well. Not necessarily filling the seats, but maybe finding alternatives or additional members that we're looking to serve.
Are all the members on the board, are they currently in, or do they have a family member immediate family member that's in like construction, expediting, project management? Is every single member, have we looked into all the membership, and do they currently all seem like they're conflicted out?
I can't speak to each individual councilman, just understanding the particular nature of the requirements to serve on the board. Yeah, I would argue that everybody's heavily vested within the community of construction, design, and build out. So I'm not going to say that one individual is more conflicted than the other, or that there are any conflicts with any particular individual. But what I am saying is that it's the nature of the work. I have a finance background, and everybody knows somebody somewhere type of thing, whether we're actually doing business with each other or not. Same goes with the construction boards.
Now, John, I know last meeting we mentioned that I guess a Jersey City employee chairs the board, right? And every project here is going to have to go through permit process, construction code. Does that mean that he can't vote on any Jersey City project?
Yeah, so they take turns at the county level. So he votes on every other municipality, and then he would abstain from anything in Jersey City. And those members outside of Jersey City would vote on those particulars. Obviously, he's the issuing agent now, so he can't weigh in on local now. So it'd be the same at the county level.
Okay, so I guess in my mind, I'm thinking most boards have an odd number, right? So you'll be able to get a vote, right? And you won't have a tie. So if it's an odd number and there's ever a split vote, who's going to break the tie?
I'll have to get back on that. I think Rich Borgiano should.
Are the rest of the counties across the state, do they have a similar structure where it's a county-wide system?
Yeah, most do. And then within Hudson County, we have Jersey City, and then there's a small group in North Hudson that retain their own. But the majority of cities did go fold into the county's board. So, and just certain counties have so many small municipalities that it wouldn't make sense for them to have their own. So it's not a matter of that, local is not good. It's just it'd be too small for them to sustain.
What are the powers of the Construction Board of Appeals, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, so they oversee the violations that are in appeal process, and then determine if there was violation that occurred, and then if there's a monetary fee that's involved with that.
Have there been any monetary fees assessed? And what's the consistency and the frequency of that? And
yeah, I have to get you a report on that. There are situations where they're dismissed, and there's other ones that their fines are carried out. It really depends on the board as they hear it. It's a hearing.
Are there metrics that are like, I know, 1 second. I'm still, okay. I patiently wait for everybody else. Always,
He does.
please, come on. Last question. So is anyone giving any metrics on basically the summonses that come in, which ones result in fines, which ones result in dismissal? And
yeah, Councilwoman Prinzeri actually asked for that last meeting, and hope to have it tomorrow. So basically what we just did is ask for a year snapshot of what was heard by the committee, and then what the results were. Again, it's case by case basis, so there may be issues where the ticket or the summons was unfounded, and then there may be other ones that severe penalties were issued.
yeah, thank you.
Did they give a report on how many
We didn't have it, so we're building it. So we're hoping to have it for tomorrow. We have everything that went to the board and then we have everything that was resulted, but we don't have it cumulative. So we're putting it all together now.
Because when we need board members, how do we solicit for new board members on this board? I'm just curious. Because if we don't advertise enough, we keep getting the same pool. And maybe that can be the problem. I mean, because even when I think about the construction industry itself, I'm thinking about the other skill sets that's there. They don't own the business, but they work for the business. So have we ever solicited them to be a part of the board, or we just always solicit the owners of these construction companies to be part of the board? Because they have skills too.
Yeah, you have to have a professional license to serve on the board. So that's kind of where the restrictions come in, as to the eligible pool that of availability. There's a lot of people that have experience in the field, but you need somebody that has the professional expertise to decide whether a violation had occurred, or if it's something that could be remediated without a fine or without damaging the work site.
And I'm sure out of 300,000 people in Jersey City, we can go find a board and monitor it and make sure it's done correctly.
We just have some concerns. It's giving up a board because we're doing so much building. We don't have if we give up something, then how can we really view what's going on? I mean, dealing with the county, this is not the only municipality. They got other municipalities, and I'm quite sure they're not going to change no rules because we gave over our board. That's just not going to happen. So our concern is we do want some type of control, because you're asking us to give up a board that have to answer to this council if it's not done right. If we turn over to the county, they don't have to answer. That's our concern.
It's like we're going to continue working with the council on this matter until come up with we reconcile what the path forward is.
So this would be the second vote coming up. So we need to have a good conversation now. It's like we don't want to vote on it. We don't. That's our reserve right now. Are we voting? We feel this way, okay? And we know we want to make sure the ethics issue is covered. How do we deal with that? Who's on our ethic board? I never seen it. Do they meet? All those concerns too, before we just give up something. So you want to table this?
Or maybe we can have it not tabled, so we don't have to bring it back, but have it carried over to a meeting in 2 weeks to give us a little bit more time, to give you all a little bit more time to put the reports together that we've asked for at the last meeting, which was 2 weeks ago. So no, I know, I don't say that to be glib. I say that because I do understand that a new report can take time. I also think getting, you've given us the list of people who are on the board, but just all of this in writing so we can understand. Including because it's a Jersey City board, I understand that they all have to be Jersey City residents, but I feel like there's enough people doing small construction companies, enough tradespeople in the city that to the council president's point, maybe casting a wider net, knowing we don't have a paper of record that is read by all residents. A lot of people consume their information online. We don't have a good way to push that information out any longer, because the readership of the Jersey Journal, which is where we put the notifications, is not growing, it's shrinking. And I don't know how they're communicating even those classified information. I know that they do it online, but how do people even get it? That's not our problem, that's their problem, but it's a problem.
So you want to bring it back 2 weeks or what?
Work on that report, and then we'll bring it back in 2 weeks.
Okay, see, we reached a compromise.
So then, council members, I would just need a motion at the meeting on Thursday to carry it before we hold the public hearing, to carry it to the April 12th meeting, which I think they would have plenty of time to get that report to you guys. All right, with that being said, item 4.3, City Ordinance 23-020 is an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting the 244 Bay Street redevelopment plan.
Yeah. If I can update the council, and ask that we actually do the same thing for this plan as we carry it to the April 12th meeting. I met with city planning, historic, and went to the site. I understand where the recommendation to make a commercial comes from. As a historic building, we can't change it. But, its footprint, and it's a small building. It's 3 stories. And the first 2 stories, because of the fire truck entrance, are sort of in essence designed as if they would be commercial in use. And there is a commercial kitchen in the back. So it makes sense that it be commercial, and even under the inclusionary zoning standards, the most you'd get is 1 unit of affordable housing in it. So I understand where they're looking at that. But there are some things in the ordinance, including a roof deck, that I don't think have been fully vetted in the community. So we have sent it to the Hartsmith Cove Neighborhood Association for a review, but it was sent last week. So ask that we take 2 more weeks to be able to give them full time to review and maybe make some small amendments on things like roof decks and other things like that.
Okay. We'll bring this back April 12th too.
Great.
So we'll make a compound motion to bring back both ordinances to the April 12th meeting. Okay, item 4.4, City Ordinance 23-021 is an ordinance adopting amendments to the Liberty Harbor North redevelopment plan to the permitted use and building type for a portion of block 15907.
Yeah, Sean, I think, the third charm is the charm. Because essentially with this, I don't know if the developer was, misrepresenting the standard, because when I spoke with him and I, asked about the
Yeah.
height.
They're not.
No, they're,
Oh,
yeah.
opposition. of-
When I spoke with him initially, I was under the impression that, only thing was changing was the use, and the heights of the establishments were relatively the same. I did come across some information that is contrary to that. And I still have been waiting for them to get back to me with some items that I don't know if they're busy, they didn't have a chance to get back.
I told you they're here for something.
Good evening.
Introduce yourself, come on.
Good evening. Gregory Asadorian from the Caucus Law Firm. We represent the prospective developer, the contract purchaser. I'm assuming that's who you're talking about?
Yes, the gentleman, when we spoke specifically about the height, he told me that it would be relatively equivalent from the old to the new. Is that your assessment of it?
That is.
Let's see, that's, because, when I was looking at this other, diagram, it's,
Yeah, I mean, just to try to, so, I mean, my understanding it is 16 to 32 stories. That's the change. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah.
It's a change in stories, but the feet remains almost identical. The feet is, if I'm not mistaken, the proposed hotel, which was permitted, was approximately 325 feet. And I believe the proposed change now would be approximately 320 feet. So the number of stories changes, but the feet, the height actually stays the same.
yeah,
How that happened?
I was,
Because I believe the redevelopment plan allows for a certain amount of feet for the hotel, like up to 15 feet per story, whereas this would be a lower per story.
Little tricky words. Come on, somebody else.
no, I mean, no, I just just need more, time to reach back out to Tanya, and, because I spoke with your client and he was supposed to be getting back with me, and he's never done that.
That I don't know.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't on the meeting. I think it was only him and another gentleman, that was on the meeting. So, just in the interest of making sure everything is clear and concise, you just need more dialogue to look over exactly and make sure that everything which was stated is accurate. And I don't have the expertise to make that, that analysis or that assessment or come to that conclusion. I rely on our plan department, so I do want to, engage them in more conversation with respect to this.
Okay, Gene, you here? You want to jump in here? We want to see this go back and forth a little bit.
Thank you, Council President.
Come on.
I'm going to go fast because I know you want to go fast, and that's the way, that's your MO. I got it. The basic question here is, there are two changes in the
Mhm.
development plan. One is the use, it goes from a hotel use to a residential use.
Right.
One, that's correct, Councilman. The second question is the height.
Correct.
The height that's required is 16 stories for a hotel. It's being changed from an L building to what's called an XL building, which allows them to go up to 32 stories. The lineal feet is not the same. It's not the same. 16 stories, double that is 32 stories. The height can't be the same. I've checked with architects that have looked at this. I've checked with our own people. I have someone here from Perkins Eastman that will confirm that. So there is a severe change in the height. We've performed, our expert here has performed a shadow study that shows you what happens when you put between two 45-story buildings, a 32-story building. It looks like a massive wall. It looks like a wall going right across because it's so tight. It's on one block, okay? So my appearance here, Council President, is, and I don't want to take, I'm not presenting the case now.
Right.
Yeah, this is, we were not allowed we're unable to present the case before the planning board. It wasn't me, it's actually another law firm. And they couldn't make these arguments to the planning board, and the planning board simply voted without having heard from an objector. So I'm asking the council at this point either to do one of two things. And you could check with Corporation Council to see whether or not one of them is legal.
Okay.
The first one is to send it back to the planning board. Council has general jurisdiction to send any redevelopment plan anywhere it wants. And if it wants to send it back to the planning board, to have them hear the objector and hear what testimony and take actual testimony from experts on this and fill out the record. When it comes back to this municipal council, you'll have a full knowledge as to what's happening here. So that's my first suggestion. And the second suggestion, if that doesn't appeal to you, and I hope it does, is that you carry this to the next 2 weeks, and I'll present what as much expert testimony as I can get together in that period of time to allow you to get educated on what's going on here, and you can make your independent decision on whether or not this is a redevelopment plan that should, or redevelopment amendment that should or should not go forward.
Peter, can we send it back?
Yes, that is within the council's
Okay.
power.
Let's send it back to planning. I think it should have been a planning discussion.
You heard before, to rebut.
Go ahead.
Couple things. Number one.
We in a court of law now. Look at this.
Yeah, I apologize.
I'm only teasing. Go ahead.
With respect to the objector saying that they don't have a chance to be heard, they did. They had prior counsel. Prior counsel was conflicted out, but they could have had another attorney appear, just like how they have another attorney here tonight, but they chose not to. With respect to the height in feet is the same. The number of stories are changing. A hotel has a higher ceiling, floor to ceiling, than a residential. Residential normally, 8 or 9 feet floor to ceiling. Hotels have higher where they go to 12 feet or 15 feet. That's why you have a change in the number of stories, but the actual height from ground to floor is nearly identical in the two structures. So I just want this council to be aware as to the change.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying is, for me, I don't know that to be true. I don't know what the measure, I'm not in that bit. I don't know. We have an entity to address that. What I'm saying is, when I spoke with the developer, this is what he told me, and I took it on face value, and then I was presented with other information that contradicted what he told me. So rather than me playing like I'm a professional and understand the nuance of these complexities, there's already an entity that addressed that.
Understood. I don't know what conflicting information you were provided.
Say that again?
So I don't know what conflicting information you were provided. I could just,
Receiving conflicting information now from two different, two people with respect to the height and the delay. I don't know.
I understand. With all due respect, council didn't say there's a difference in height in feet. He said there's a difference in height in stories. He was very careful in his words.
So are the, what's, I guess, what's the height of the building now? The building that's not a hotel?
The proposed, what was approved for the hotel is 325 feet, and the this proposed project is approximately 320 feet. It's actually 5 feet lower. The number of stories changed, but the feet do not. And, you know, council also talked about blocking views, this massive views. But what council didn't tell you is there's another project that was proposed further south of this that's going to be even bigger, which is going to block the views from this building and the views from the building he's seeking to protect. So it's important that this board be given the whole story, not just parts of a story.
Yeah, see, I don't.
This will be the last. Let me just say this.
That's why
Yeah, I know.
you know what? That's why I'm saying they should go back to planning, because you see how they are going back and forth. And the truth is though, planning as our division
Right.
that pretty much supports and tell us this is right or this is wrong. And then it comes to council.
Totally agree, Council President.
So
Totally.
now we don't know what happened. We really don't. And you asking us to make a decision, which it seemed like we should be in a court of law because you guys are opposite teams here and we just don't have the expertise. So that's why we are referring it back to planning, who has the expertise. And y'all can go battle it out in front of planning. And what planning comes up with, it'll come back to us. And when it comes back to us, Tanya, Matt, or Mallory, somebody will present it and tell us why they made this decision.
Couldn't have said it better, Council President. Couldn't have said it better. Let me make one thing.
I couldn't say it better because that's what you want, but I know he's upset.
Yeah.
But
Let me make one thing very,
every time I make
clear,
a
though.
decision, somebody's
But I
not
think
happy,
we
but I'm
should
trying to
just-
look out for the council, but so we can make the right decision. I understand your point. I really do. It's not that I don't. I do understand it, but I just know as a council, we rely on planning to give us the right information. And right now, we're missing something. And because this is in the council person's ward, a lot of times we refer to the council person of that ward. Okay, how do they feel about it? You know, did they meet with the constituents and things like that? So at this time, he has some questions. I don't want us to vote no, okay, just based on, you know, what he's saying. I'm trying to make it a fair shot here. That's why I'm suggesting it goes back to planning. That's all. I see your point. I do. They didn't show up. They should have showed up if they were supposed to. Okay, but it puts us in a bad position because now he's here. Okay, and we're listening. So I just want to be fair. I think, you know, going back to planning, let planning discuss this, I think is fair. I trust Matt. I trust Tanya. I really do. I trust them. This council really trusts them and rely on, not that we don't trust you, but that's our arm, okay?
And one thing you should just tell your client, just make sure that they respond to Councilman Gilmore's emails or calls. I mean, he publicly stated here on the record that he's reached out and no one has gotten back to him.
Because it's tomatoes. Units, height, you know what I mean? Those are words we play with. Okay, and that's why I don't want to put this council in a position. I want it very clear. If it's 16 stories going up to 32 stories, okay, what does that mean? You said, no, it's still the same height just based on this ratio or whatever. See, we're not expertise. Just tell us 16, 32. What's the difference?
Council
I'm
President,
just trying to show you what layman terms are for us.
Council President, that's all I asked for. I wasn't arguing the matter. I was saying, give it back to the board that's hearing this. And you said it. It should go back to somebody that has a.
Only reason, but I know he had stated his case, and I'm trying to get him to see the only reason why I'm sending it back, because see, you guys are here today disputing this. We're not the experts, to be perfectly honest. We're just not planning experts, you know.
Understood.
Just like if we deal with infrastructure, I'm going to call Barker up here to tell us what's going on with it. That's why we have these departments.
Yes, it's understood. It's just on our end, you know.
I know.
Client also has contractual obligations and deadlines. to satisfy.
Is deadlines, I get that. But what is the deadline? Because then this goes back to plan, how soon can they hear it?
I'm not doing the closing part of it, but I believe it has to close, the second next month, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
but they haven't reached out to the council person, so the deadline is a concern.
Yes, I understand. Like I said,
And
Council,
then
Okay.
this is the-
that's what I mean, that there has to be fluent conversation, because now you're talking about a deadline. He said this decision was contingent upon the deadline. So I don't know, and I don't have the expertise to make these decisions. So
Understood.
that's why the best course of action is to send it to the body that handles this. And then when they come back, Ty and Matt will say X, Y, and Z, here's why, here's why, here's why.
Now, I'm trying to be fair here and I'm listening. You telling me it's a deadline. Are you sure that there's a deadline here?
Oh, I know they have contractual deadlines. I'm not handling the closing
Okay.
part of it, but I know that they have contractual deadlines.
Now, listen, lawyers argue back and forth, but that's what I'm saying. The judge left. We had a judge here. He left. But my thing is this, because I understand deadlines and everything like that when it comes to a project. Now, because you're telling me you have a deadline, the only thing that I can suggest from here, and I think it's fair because you have a deadline, we can hold this to April 12th. Okay, you have an opportunity to meet with the councilman, both of you. Okay, meet with the councilman, and then councilman, you let us know they met with you, whatever, and then that'll be a conversation from there. This way here, I don't have to flip it all the way back to planning. Have a conversation, have Matt and have Tanya there too, one or the other. This way here, you have a clear understanding. It'll come back to us on April the 12th, and then we can make a fair decision. Because then we'll have our experts really having a conversation with the councilman. I think that's fair.
Thank you.
Okay, is that fair? Gene, is just as fair as it's gonna get. Come on, guys, we gotta go.
Listen, that was one of the suggestions I made, that we come back on April 12th, the next
Okay.
council meeting.
All right.
I'll do it, but it doesn't help you.
Listen, Gene is gonna help us, because you know what I'm gonna do? After he follows up, I'm gonna call Matt or Tanya. And we're gonna get an answer, and I'm gonna tell him to email all the council some
fine
bullet
with me.
points on what's going on.
No problem.
All right?
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
So that will mean we'll make a compound motion to carry 19, 20, and 21 to the April 12th meeting.
So should we make a motion to just meet on April 12th?
Well, if you want to have, I don't know, like,
I'm absolutely.
90
me too, me too. No, it'll be like 7 public hearings plus all the speakers. But anyway, no problem. We'll take care of that. So next, item 4.6, City Ordinance 23-023 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-22, parking prohibited at all times on the west side of Arlington Avenue from Grand Street to Communipore Avenue. Item 4.7, City Ordinance 23-024 is an ordinance amending Ordinance 15-88 in regards to Chapter 3, Administration of Government, Article 12, Department of Health and Human Services of the Jersey City Code, changing the responsible department for Adopt a Lot program to the Department of Public Works, Division of Solid Waste Recycling. We have our public speakers. We have 11 so far. Petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.14. Office of Communications, 7.1 and 7.2. Reporter Directors, 8.1. We have our meeting claims. And on to our resolutions. So